The Agri-weather outlook is sponsored by Excalia fungicide from Valent USA.
It seems it's one step forward, two steps back for our spring weather. What's coming up in the next few weeks? Here's John with our Agri-weather outlook.
Unfortunately, as the calendar finishes out the month of March and we turn into April, we're just going to extend the winter weather pattern, at least across the northern plains, the western Great Lakes. It is a cold weather pattern this year. Coldest probably in many areas since 2019. Not like we're setting records with it being cold, but it is being one of the colder springs in a while. And the pattern still looks fairly wet, although as we get toward the end of March and April, even with the cold relative to average temperatures, we'll start to see some more rain beginning to mix in with the snows in the northern areas, but it's still going to be turning to snow very likely, those systems. And all of this likely means that not only does winter get prolonged, but with the cold and wet pattern, especially areas with snow on the ground, we are almost certainly talking about things getting pushed back, and spring planting will be dicey in some areas, especially where we have to melt snow and then wait for some flooding season in places like North Dakota and northwest Minnesota. But the cool weather pattern is extending all the way down almost to the coast, with cool temperatures right now over Texas and sub-freezing weather in the northern plains and the Great Lakes. The frigid weather has retreated, so there is that to look forward to. All this is due to the jet stream. It meanders a bit, but it stays mostly to the south, and this has allowed cool weather to drop down over most of North America, even some cool temperatures from time to time into the northern parts of Florida. Cold, of course, by that we signify mostly sub-freezing, and for places like the northern Rockies, the northern plains, and the Great Lakes, except for an occasional day that gets up into the 30s to around 40, we'll keep a lot of these areas below freezing, not only this week, but next week as well. But interestingly enough, the south is going to start heating up by the end of the week and into the weekend, and so as we smash the two temperature regimes together, you get a more active storm track. So we do expect precipitation to be a little more predominant this week, but even into the early part of April, northern plains and Great Lakes area looking to remain fairly cold. There are some signs of ridging out west, so California may start to warm up a little toward the end of the period. But this coming week, precipitation will be heavy in the west coast. Mountain snows, of course, coastal rains, and that'll spread out into the northern plains with some snow. It's hard to tell in advance how heavy it will be. Rain on the southern flank of that. And I do expect some rain and thunder showers this weekend and again later in the week for Florida, which has been fairly dry this late winter, early spring so far. The second week of the pattern, the west coast still looking fairly wet with rain and snow. The snow belt still getting it. We're going to shift it a little further east from the eastern Dakotas across the Great Lakes, and the rain's moving a little further north, but still, generally speaking, for most of the agricultural areas, a cold and a fair